Education has moved on. There's some fantastic degree apprenticeships, so you can be working and studying at the same time. There's some very good short courses. I work a little bit with UCD Professional Academy, and we have a 3-month short course in hospitality. And students find that fantastic about maybe learning about departments where they haven't seen before. So I think education has evolved.
This is Alexander Munfair, a hospitality management teacher from Ireland and based in London, and a former food and beverage manager at the Four Seasons Hotel London.
We are looking after people, and in food and beverage, they're having their dinner when we want to have ours. They're having breakfast when we should be. So we're there to look after them. So I think there is no doubt you have to make students have a realistic understanding of the industry. But I think as well, you have to stimulate the ambitions of the students.
Alex and I discuss hospitality education, its relevance today, and the now infamous graduate expectations versus the industry reality. Also, how new curriculum design are giving more flexibility to get certified through hybrid learning. And of course, the future of hospitality education. Before that, Nadia and I continue our quest for happiness in hospitality with a panel discussion on how hoteliers can use customer feedback to help employees' skills grow. I hope you enjoy. Hello, Schillering hospitality people. Welcome back to the Schillering Hub podcast. I'm Mauricio, your host, and today, once again, with Nadia Tien in our quest for happiness in hospitality. Hello, Nadia.
Hi, Maurizio. Nice to hear you again as well.
Yeah, we can see each other. We are lucky people, right? Sorry if you're just listening to this today, but soon we are hoping to get that on video as well. But while you are just listening in your gym, in your car, I hope that you're enjoying as much as we are, because we have a lot of fun here. When we're not recording, we're laughing. So, Nadia, love having you back.
I'm happy to be back, Maurizio. Thank you.
Nadia, today we are going to talk about the link between employee and customer satisfaction, something that we've been discussing around in the last few weeks. But there is a common saying, like you look after your employee and they will look after your business. So Danny Muir from the Union Square Hospitality Group says that he discovered that he was failing in expanding his business because he was concentrating the customer. And once he realized that was the employee well-being that came first, he managed to turn what was 2 restaurants to a massive company. So how does employee satisfaction directly impact customer satisfaction in your opinion?
This is a very simple question, and it touches everything that I've done in my career, Maurizio. I'm in this business for 30 years. I am, since the beginning in Czech Republic, I'm part of the Happiness at Work. If you don't foster happiness at work, then obviously the relationship between the guests and the happiness of the staff, it has to be something that is in balance. I have a friend. She became a very good friend of mine, Monica Hill. She wrote a book, Put Your People First, and the rest will follow. And this is a specific hospitality book, purely written about putting your people first. And then, like the gentleman that you just mentioned, everything else will follow. And I'm a big believer of that. If you have happy people that are working in your organization, they will, I totally agree, they will carry your business forward. And if you look at the hotels that I've been managed in the past, they are, a great example, because become number 1 on TripAdvisor once, twice, 3 times. It's all related to the topic that we are currently discussing.
The gentleman you said, Danny Meyers, his story is on Master of Scales, that is written by Reid Hoffman, the creator of LinkedIn. And it's a super cool story because he opened his first restaurant in New York, and it was an amazing restaurant, right? Everyone had an amazing experience, and everyone was talking about his restaurant, and his restaurant was top 5 best restaurants in New York. And for almost 10 years, he didn't open a second one. And everyone was asking him, when you're going to open a second one? We want to see what else you can build, or you want something closer to me. And he said, like, now my father failed when he tried to expand the business. I'm not secure enough to do that. I don't want to follow the steps. And he said, I will only open my second restaurant once I have I can reach 3 items. It's 1, making the second restaurants will improve the first one. 2, I'll have more time for myself. And 3, that the second restaurant will be better than the first restaurant. So when the time finally came that he had that opportunity to make the 3, and he done. And after 18 months, he said that all the 3 things was a disaster. So he didn't have any time for himself. He got the first bad reviews in the first restaurants. That was always a top choice in New York. And the second restaurant was actually a disaster. Like, people were not getting the experience that he was expecting. And that's where he realized that he didn't really wrote the mission and the statements of what he believed that hospitality was. And then he wrote the hospitality coefficient. And he put that employees come first. I will look after my people, and then everything will follow because we have that clear conversation. It's a super cool story. You guys should have a look. But how can we measure employee satisfaction to compare to customer satisfaction?
How can we measure employee satisfaction to customer satisfaction? If you engage with your employees, and the moral or the basic line of everything that we've been discussing over the last week, Mauricio, is happiness at work, or the whole journey from happiness and etc. So if you are able to create a culture where people are open, where the management is open, where they feel safe, and their interactions are being valued, the satisfaction of those people being happy will definitely create a more happier customer. I'm convinced of it, and I have shown in my businesses in the past that this really works. So one measurement would be, where are you on TripAdvisor? Where are you on Booking.com? If you're able to integrate, measures and procedures in a way to keep your staff happy, it will result in a better result online. I'm convinced of it.
If someone here never listened to our podcast or our quest for happiness, they may be not familiar with real example of how you help or your team help the employee satisfaction to create this great customer experience. Can you share some real life examples from your experience?
Engagement with the people. I mean, we mentioned it in the previous podcast, but I'm very much interested how the people feel on a daily basis. So I implemented tubes in my hotels. The people were able to put the balls inside and say, okay, I am not feeling well today. The ball goes into the tube of I'm not feeling well. If that is the case, you cannot be 100% all the time, smiley if you have bad experience in your life. And it could be whatever, you might not feel well, not sick enough to stay home, but not good enough to stand in front of a client with a big smile. So to interact, to understand that people are people and give them the task that they can do at that moment was a big thing for me.
I love your life stories, that story. I love this one of the tubes. I think that I can't wait to see actually that happening in a place that I'm working, just to see how that works.
We should get some feedback. If anybody installs the tubes, they're the first one to tell. This should be you. And then you can use them as an example.
Well, I'll see if I can put that in the casino here. I'm not sure. If you are listening today, how has employee satisfaction affected guest experience at your workplace? If you're listening on Spotify, there is a little box there with this question. Just please tap there and give your feedback. Just tell us how that helped you. And if you're not on Spotify, how about commenting on LinkedIn and let us know. Nadia, thank you very much again for sharing your experience and I quest for happiness in hospitality.
You're more than welcome, Mauricio. It's always a pleasure.
And hang on, there is more to come. Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to the Schillery Hub podcast. I'm your host, Mauricio, and today we are receiving here, welcoming a guest that is a hospitality management teacher. So we have a lot to discuss in this learning journey that we are through with Schillery. So, Alexander Muir, did I say your name right?
Perfect. Thank you, Maurizio.
Welcome, Alexander. Welcome. Thank you very much for accepting and coming to talk to us. Well, as I said, you are a hospitality management teacher, former F&B manager for 6 years, if I'm not wrong. Good part of that, but with the 4 seasons in London. But how did you end up in hospitality?
Thank you very much, Maurizio. I know we chatted a couple of weeks ago, and it's great to be on your podcast. I know it's very highly acclaimed, and you've got a great interest and background in hospitality, so it's great to be with you. Yeah, I mean, as you said, my background is predominantly being food and beverage, so with some of the large hospitality organizations. What drew me always to hospitality, we had a small family business in the west of Ireland, so we had, back in the day, in the mid-90s, we had coffee shops and craft shops. So we had always people coming into us, and that kind of buzz, that kind of flow, getting ready for services. Although it was small coffee shops, I always enjoyed it. I liked having people around. So that was my initial kind of, I suppose, experience with hospitality. And then down the line, when I finished in secondary school, I studied hospitality in a place called Shannon College of Hotel Management, which is well known for its practical hospitality training. And that's really then where my career started. My career has predominantly been in London, and the reason was initially it was a great place to go, and I always liked London. It's a good place to benchmark hospitality off. It's very vibrant, it's very trendy. So that's a little bit about how I got into hospitality. I still absolutely 1000% passionate about it. I've taken a slightly different twist on it the last couple of years by moving into more university lecturing.
Sorry to interrupt. If you're enjoying this show and if you are learning something new today, please consider following the show, subscribe to our channel, or leave us a review. It helps us to help more people through the podcast, and it would mean the world to us. Thank you for listening, and we're back on the chat. Here we get great career, by the way. I love working in small coffee shops. It's the real hospitality that you actually see. It's not, I love luxurious, but the real coffee shop there, that experience, that repeating guest that comes every morning to talk, and you know the name, and they know you, and you know their coffee. I love that experience as well. But now you are into the education side, and I have a very direct question about it. Is a hospitality degree worth it?
I think the answer would be yes. I think within the hospitality sector, we need, a variety of skills. I think that's important. I think doing your academic degree is very useful. You learn a lot of the fundamentals of running a business, of HR, of finance, of operations, and also the practical skills in terms of, say, front office or food and beverage or revenue management, reservation systems. So I would say absolutely yes. It certainly depends on what type of a degree you do, whether you go to a very much a practical hotel school or whether or not you go to a more larger university, which will very much be taking the academic side of it and then hopefully trying to get as much practicality in. But as well as that, education has moved on. There's some fantastic degree apprenticeships, so you can be working and studying at the same time. There's some very good short courses. I work a little bit with UCD Professional Academy, and we have a 3-month short course in hospitality. And students find that fantastic about maybe learning about departments where they haven't seen before. So I think education has evolved. It's no longer as, you finish secondary school and you've got that big panic about going into university. There's a lot of opportunities now for young people and for mature students, which is great. So we have a diversity in the ways you can access education, which is key. So it really depends on the individual, on what they want to do. So our hospitality degree is useful, absolutely, but there's also alternative ways as well.
And lately, I've been part of some discussions with the education. There is a discussion happening now if there is a crisis on hospitality education, right? And one of the points that they are bringing and over is a kind of a discrepancy on what the academy is teaching and what the industry needs. And a little bit of the expectation that the students are coming out of the course to the workplace and maybe not meeting what they expected that they would encounter, the level of seniority that they would be working with. But what has changed and why is this discussion happening right now?
The nature of, hospitality, the students that normally go into hospitality are normally very highly ambitious. So they want to grow quite quickly. I think it's important to sell the industry when you're teaching it. There is a massive amount of opportunities, but at the same time, you have to be realistic in terms of you have to understand the different departments, for example, before you can be a divisional head. You may need to even understand multiple divisions before you could become a hotel manager or general manager. So you have to be realistic, but I think it's one of the big selling points of the industry is the diversity of roles that's there. And also, I would have gone into hospitality because maybe I would have experienced hotels. I would have seen the restaurant manager or the general manager and I would have looked up to them. I would have liked their approach, their style, and I would have, I would have seen the lifestyle as being quite glamorous. Now, when you're in the industry, there is a lot of very interesting elements to the role. But it is a lot of hard work as well. There's extremely long days because the nature of we are looking after people, and in food and beverage, they're having their dinner when we want to have ours. They're having breakfast when we should be. So we're there to look after them. So I think there is no doubt you have to make students have a realistic understanding of the industry. But I think as well, you have to stimulate the ambitions of the students. There's nothing wrong with if you have someone come into a hotel, a young individual at a university who wants to be that GM, and fantastic. You can get them to work on various projects. So I would say, is there a skills gap? Well, certainly if it's a very theoretical degree, there may be some skills gap, as in they may not understand the systems or the SOPs when they go into your workplace. But I think if they have the right attitude and the ambition, I think those skills can be very easily taught with the right infrastructure within the organization.
Yeah, I like that. And you also teach innovation, right? You work with innovation, and I see that maybe this is one of the main challenges that the students are facing is the industry is changing really fast. It's becoming a lot more automated, and hotel owners are expecting to cut labor, to be able to save their cost and multitasking whoever they can hire. So how do you see that element of innovation, and how do your students see them into the industry now?
Yeah, you will get certainly, innovation will always be a component of hospitality management, particularly at postgraduate level. It can be a very strong element in terms of entrepreneurship and innovation. It will always be an element there because you will always have a percentage of students who will be very entrepreneurial, who are doing hospitality because they see opportunities in setting up their own businesses. Or they can also be entrepreneurs, which means they have that skills, but they can do it within an organization as well. So innovation is very, very key. If we look at the key areas of certainly innovation is moving very fast. Technology will always move very fast, but certainly I suppose green technology is a big element now in terms of sustainability and green technology, and a difficult one for maybe organizations to handle because maybe there isn't the skill set coming through, but it's being developed. And certainly I think we have seen that there may be a skills gap in terms of, say, the use of IT and technology in hotels, getting people with the right skills to be able to develop really innovative technology systems to help the hotel as well. So I think it's an area certainly to focus on. It has to be a core component. And I think generally universities do it well, but I think it is very much based on the individual, their aspirations, how much they get involved in, taking those risks about trying to set up something themselves.
And you say now like a lot about the individual. Yeah. And one of the challenges is the studying and work, right? And you mentioned before that there are lots of courses now offering that flexibility of a hybrid learning. So to be hybrid, do you need to have your students like foot on the ground in the school, or is online learning an opportunity here for them to develop while they are learning with the foot on the ground?
I think both. I mean, I think that hybrid learning is badly needed. We know. I mean, the Zoom and technology has meant that has created great efficiencies and has made communication as much more effective. So I'm a massive fan of that hybrid element. Some people are very, very efficient in their own workspace at projects. Other people feel there's a big necessity to be in a workplace. I think a balance between both is needed. In terms of hybrid learning, I think it can work very well. I don't see, of course, in the classroom is a different experience. Students want the on-campus experience, which is a really important part of learning and developing skills. But certainly a huge amount of theory and discussions can happen online. So I don't see anything from that. Is it difficult to work and to study at the same time? Absolutely, yes. A lot of universities are very well equipped for that. So, for example, they will schedule maybe a Thursday-Friday class or a Friday-Saturday class, and they'll have some very, very intensive sessions, which means the students have that 3 or 4 days where they can work and give the employer the right availability. I mean, I know personally, I did my master's part-time over 2 years while I was working full-time as a department head, and it was a big challenge. I did my master's at the University of Cambridge in the Judge Business School. It was a transformational experience. It was very, very challenging but rewarding. But I would have done that because I wouldn't have been able to afford to do 1 year full-time as a master's and take a step out of work. So I had to do it part-time over the 2 years. And I think we have to be realistic. Education is very expensive to do it full-time. So we have to give students the opportunity to be able to work as well.
And how do you see really, like now you said about expensive as well. So it's another element of a challenge there to get hospitality workers to a certain level of service that we would expect. And how would that hybrid work and studying be more affordable? Do you think that maybe breaking down a curriculum into a very long-term curriculum where there is no boundaries of time to finish, as long as you finish that, would be an option? Or there is another way that maybe we can make that more affordable and interesting for the people and maybe even for the industry to sponsor the workers and get their diplomas?
Yeah, I mean, I think organizations and hotel organizations in particular are very supportive of students further in their education. I think they see it is, and the reason is because the new generation that are coming in require, want, and ask for training and development. So before it was maybe an added benefit of the role or something you wanted to be part of. Well, now we see that the people that come in, they will demand it. So you need to have a very robust training and development system in place. You need to have very robust management development programs. You're not going to be able to do everything in-house by yourself. So you have to collaborate. I think hotel organizations collaborating with universities or hotel schools is a fantastic way to get students both maybe to do, short courses and longer particular areas. And some other ways of doing it, for example, is, giving the student the opportunity of having a kind of an infinite time to finish the degree. I mean, certainly could be a possibility, but I suppose setting those milestones, okay, do the diploma after 1 year. If you want to go back working, and then you can always come back and finish off your degree. So I think giving the students options would be the best way to do it.
And now you exactly touched on what I was going to ask. That's giving the option to the students. So can education be more personalized to that individual in a way that maybe I don't want to learn so much about certain elements of the school, but I want really to develop another part of hospitality that I'm really passionate about, and being able to develop that with proper education on a long term without having to go through what I don't want, maybe losing my interest, maybe losing my motivation because I have to do the things that for me I will not use in the future.
Very good point. And I think that's one of the challenges when developing curriculum is how to do it. You may have students who are very focused, for example, on event management, or others who are very focused on hospitality. Some like to look at the more tourism perspective from internationally. So that is certainly one of the challenges when creating curriculums, is to satisfy the students' needs. I think an important element can be electives. So you're giving the students choices of really, really strong, dynamic electives to choose. I think it has to be for the university, and from the university perspective and the lecturer's perspective, it has to be feasible in terms of having enough students in each of the courses. So giving the student 100% flexibility in terms of what modules they would be choosing could be a challenge. But certainly I think a really strong, dynamic, interesting, varied list of electives to bulk up on the core modules that they will need, I think is a very good way to approach it.
I love the way that you approach that, as thinking about the challenge of the university to deliver as well, because it needs to make sense, financial sense as well, right? And not only if you live too much, if it's free to an element of time, it's very hard for universities to really count how much they need. And Alex, if we talk about the future of education, okay, we always like to play a game here on how we foresee hospitality and where hospitality is going. For you, where is hospitality going, and how can we educate our people that, or where is hospitality education going in the next decade?
I think in general, in hospitality in general, is at a very exciting place. There's lots of very interesting things happening around the world. I mean, just one example we hear, it's very difficult to ignore what's happening, for example, in Saudi Arabia with their Tourism 2030. We looked at some case studies of it in our own cohorts, and it really is fascinating what they're doing, the various projects. So I think global hospitality and tourism is in a very exciting place. But I mean, of course, there's a lot of more complexity and uncertainty in the market with global issues, which maybe wouldn't have affected national hospitality as much, but we're seeing big effects of global challenges around the world. So I would say the future of education in hospitality is very strong. There's more and more students who see it as a viable career option. But of course, it's up to educators to sell it and show the interest in the career. But certainly in terms of the curriculum based, I think without doubt sustainability is a very key element. And that has evolved and changed. It's much more about practical employment skills based on sustainability. If you become an impact officer, or work in a sustainability team, or have to implement a sustainable initiative, whether it be in the bar, restaurant, or in the hotel as general, what knowledge do you need to have? What skills do you need to have as well? Technology as well related to personalization is always going to be there and is evolving very, very rapidly, with obviously the influence of artificial intelligence. So that's certainly the key areas are certainly without doubt technology, sustainability, and certainly staffing is a big challenge as well. So staffing in terms of retention, strategies, turnover, all that area of analysing how we can attract the best talent as a hotel organisation, and also keep them is another one. Keep them, and I think there's certainly a scope there to develop really, really interesting and dynamic retention strategies, maybe by analysing other industries that have done it very well.
Do you believe that if hospitality, the industry, sponsor more education or more opportunities for development, it would be easier to retain their staff?
I mean, I think without doubt now, hotel companies realise collaborating with universities is very smart. I think they know that because they're getting ambitious, skilled, educated workers from universities that are ambitious and know what's going on. And at different levels of at differing levels of experience. Some of them have very good experience as well. So they're really getting a double benefit there. And then of course the students that may not have the experience, they're able to train them. They're very easily trainable as well. So I think it makes absolute sense for hotel organizations to tap into the resources of university. For example, on consultancy projects. I mean, a university, a cohort of 40, 50, 60 students can do amazing work on consultancy for a hospitality organization. Mm-hmm. They will come up with things that the hotel has not thought of. And it will be very, very detailed and distinct. So I think it makes sense. There has to be a very strong collaboration between hotels, big and small, the general industry, big and small, and universities in the local place that they're operating in.
Awesome, Alex. It was great chatting to you. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
I mean, of course. So, Maurizio will certainly can share my details. If you want to reach out to me, you can spot me on LinkedIn. Certainly, you can reach out to me. And of course, I'll be being in contact with yourself, Maurizio. You've got a fantastic podcast and hub here. I think you're doing great work. And you have a very, very, useful insight into hospitality from your own companies that you run. So very, very interesting, the work that you're doing. So if you want to reach out to me, of course, LinkedIn is probably the easiest. And if needed, Maurizio will share my contact details with you.
Thank you, Alex. If you can, we're going to share, but if you allow us, we can put your LinkedIn link as well on the notes. And thank you very much for your time. It was absolutely a pleasure to have you on the show. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Maurizio. Thank you.